The first time anyone noticed Ms. Lila Monroe was missing, it was 8:15 a.m. on a Monday. A line of students had already formed outside her office, kids clutching anxiety slips and college recommendation requests. Lila, the school counselor for over 20 years, had a reputation for being early, organized, smiling. Today, her door was locked. The light was off. At 8:32, Principal Avery Shaw sent an email. "If anyone hears from Ms. Monroe, please alert the front office immediately. We're concerned she may have had an emergency." By third period, her car was still in the lot. By fourth, the school buzzed with theories. She probably had a heart attack. She ran off with someone's dad. She finally quit. I would have, but one student had a different reaction. Harper Quinn stood at her locker, staring at the now printed flyer with Lila's photos stapled across the walls. Her lips parted slightly. Her jaw tightened. She wasn't shocked. Because Lila Monroe had made her stay after school the Friday before, alone, long after the other teachers had left. And they'd argued violently. 3 days earlier, Friday, 4:43 p.m., the last bell had rung. The school was quiet except for the sound of janitor vacuums echoing faintly through the halls. Inside her office, Lila tapped a pen against her clipboard. Across from her sat Harper, arms folded, boots muddy, mascara smudged. "This isn't just about the fire alarm," Lila said calmly. "You told the freshman girls the math teacher was sleeping with a student. That's defamation, Harper. You're playing with people's lives. People lie all the time. You're acting like I set a building on fire. You've been suspended twice. One more and it's expulsion." Harper smirked, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You gonna frame me for something again?" Lila blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." There was a beat of silence. Then Lila leaned forward, lowering her voice. "You need to let go of whatever story you've built in your head. I didn't ruin your life, Harper. You did that on your own." That's when Harper stood and shoved a paperweight off the desk. It cracked against the tile floor. She stormed out. It would be the last time anyone saw Lila Monroe. Back to Monday. By the afternoon, police were at the school. Detective Eli Brandt, 38, clean-shaven and disarmingly soft-spoken, had a quiet authority that made students confess without realizing it. He interviewed Harper just before last bell. "You were the last one to see her," he said, watching her from across a small office. "I'm not her stalker. I don't know where she went." "You argued with her, so?" "She argues with everyone, but you have a history of threatening teachers." "I read your file." Harper rolled her eyes. "You gonna lock me up for rolling my eyes too?" Eli didn't bite. He took out a photo. "I found this in her trash." He slid it across the table. It was a picture of Harper, sitting at her locker, unaware. Taken from behind a corner. Creepy. Unsettling. "I didn't take this," Harper said. "I never said you did. But someone did. Someone who wanted to watch you." Harper pushed the photo back. "I don't care. Maybe she's the one watching me. She's always trying to fix everyone. Maybe she broke herself." That night, neighbors heard banging from the basement of Lila's house. They assumed it was her brother, Nate. Nate Monroe was 30, with the emotional maturity of a 10-year-old. He lived with Lila, rarely left the house, and had been seen wheeling a large trash bag to the curb that morning. Detective Brandt showed up Tuesday. The house was neat. Too neat. Lila's shoes still by the door. Her purse on the hook. No forced entry. No signs of a struggle. But Nate wouldn't let them in the basement. "Sis said no one goes down there. Not even me." "Where is your sister, Nate?" Nate's lips trembled. "She said she was going somewhere secret." "What kind of secret?" "She said it was a punishment for being bad." Wednesday morning, Harper's locker was vandalized. Spray painted across it in red was one word: murderer. She denied it again, screamed at the assistant principal, demanded proof. "You don't have anything. No footage, no body. You're just guessing." That was true. There was no body. Until Thursday. That's when the smell started. Chapter End tease. The neighbors call the police. The odor is undeniable. When the basement is finally unlocked, what they find changes everything. But not in the way they expect. Because Lila Monroe isn't dead. And she's not the only one who's been keeping secrets. The basement door creaked open just after noon on Thursday. Two uniformed officers flanked Detective Eli Brandt as the locksmith finally twisted the last pin and stepped back. The air that billowed out was foul, a damp, moldy wave laced with something sharper, like copper and decay. The neighbors had been right. But no one was ready for what they'd actually find. Flashlights cut through the darkness. Boxes. Dust. And then, a heavy wooden wardrobe shoved against the far wall, behind it, a locked panel. The crawl space beyond it was barely 3 feet high, rigged with plywood walls, like a crude maze. At the very end of that crawl space? A trapdoor. Eli gave a nod. The officers pulled it open. The hole descended into a crude bunker, concrete walls, no windows, and in the center, hunched over on a thin mattress, was Ms. Lila Monroe. Gaunt. Pale. Her face was bruised, one arm in a makeshift sling. A tangle of IV lines and tubing sat near her, attached to an old medical drip. Her voice was hoarse but firm. "He put me here. Don't trust him." 1 hour later, police interview room. Lila sat wrapped in a thermal blanket, sipping tea with trembling hands. Across from her, Detective Brandt leaned forward, elbows on the table. "You've been missing for 5 days," he said gently. "Who locked you down there?" Lila stared past him. "I don't know. You said, who's he? I didn't see his face. That basement had one entrance. And your brother says he hasn't been down there. Ever." Lila looked down at her tea. "I don't think it was Nate." Brandt paused. "Then who?" Silence. "Then, I think someone paid him." Meanwhile, outside the station, Harper Quinn sat on the hood of her mom's minivan, arms crossed, scowling. Reporters gathered near the sidewalk, camera crews already dubbing it the basement counselor case. The moment they'd announced Lila was found alive, Harper had stormed out of class and gone straight to the station. "I want to talk to her," she told the front desk officer. The officer blinked. "She's recovering. I'm not here to gloat. I want to know why she had that photo of me." The officer made a note, told her to wait. Behind the glass, Harper caught a glimpse of Lila walking through the hallway, guarded, thinner, yes, but her posture straight. Still intimidating. Still hiding something. Flashback. 2 weeks ago, late one evening, Lila sat at her desk in the counselor's office, going over student files. She stopped at Harper's. A tab note read, "Referral 2019. Accused male teacher of sexual misconduct. Proven false." Lila stared at it for a long time. Then she opened her locked cabinet and pulled out a manila envelope. Inside were several surveillance-style photos, all of Harper. Walking. Talking to classmates. In the parking lot. On her phone. She slid one out. Taped it to the underside of her desk. Then she whispered, "You almost ruined everything." Back to present, Lila's home forensics teams swarmed the house, dusting every surface. Nate Monroe sat quietly on the couch, fidgeting with the string of his hoodie. Detective Brandt knelt beside him. "Nate, we found the room. Your sister's okay, but we need to understand something." Nate looked up. "She said it was my fault." "Why would she say that?" Nate's lip quivered. "She told me I'm not good at secrets." Brandt kept his voice calm. "What secret were you keeping?" Nate hesitated. Then whispered. "She said I should never talk about the man from the school." Brandt's eyes narrowed. "Which man?" "I don't know his name. But he comes late, after dark. He gives her envelopes. She gives him folders." That night, Lila's hospital room. Lila jolted awake. Brandt stood at the edge of the room. "I thought I made myself clear," she muttered. "I'm not giving any more statements. This isn't about your abduction." "Not anymore." He tossed something on the bed, a copy of Harper's student file. "You had a surveillance folder on her." "Why?" "She's unstable. So are you." Lila's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? You've been collecting photos of a teenager, hiding them in your locked cabinet. Your brother says you met with a man from the school at night, exchanging cash and folders." Brandt leaned closer. "Were you selling student records?" Her silence said everything. "Then, it was blackmail." Flashback. 4 months ago, Principal Avery Shaw sat in Lila's living room, wine glass in hand, sweat on his brow. "You can't hold that against me," he muttered. "I can, and I will, unless you increase my discretionary budget and stop questioning my private counseling sessions." Lila tapped a folder. Inside were emails, messages between Avery and a sophomore girl, nothing explicit, but enough to suggest impropriety. "I saved that girl from making a mistake. I deserve gratitude, not scrutiny." Avery's hands shook. "You're a predator," he whispered. "So are you," Lila replied. "I'm just better at it." Back to present, Friday morning word had spread. The community was divided. Some hailed Lila as a survivor. Others whispered about the file folders, the photos, the lies. And then came the twist no one expected. Security footage. An officer had recovered a trail cam from Lila's backyard, motion activated. From 5 nights earlier. It showed someone entering the basement from the rear storm door, hauling a duffel bag. It wasn't Nate. It wasn't Harper. It was Principal Avery Shaw. Police station, interrogation room. Shaw sat in silence, hands cuffed. Brandt paced. "You drugged her," he said. "You put her down there and left her with saline, pain meds, and a burner phone you knew she couldn't use. You wanted it to look like she ran." Shaw finally spoke. "She was going to destroy me. So you locked her in her own basement." "I didn't want her dead. I just wanted her gone." Brandt shook his head. "You all wanted something hidden." The courtroom was standing room only. Cameras weren't allowed, but every reporter in the state had someone inside. And all eyes were on Lila Monroe. When asked if she manipulated her students' statements, Lila didn't flinch. "I did," she said. "Because no one listened when we told the truth." Gasps erupted. She continued, calm and clear. "I gave them the words. But the pain? That was always real." Principal Avery Shaw tried to keep a poker face, but he was sweating. And then Lila delivered the final blow. "I blackmailed him," she admitted. "He knew what happened in that basement. He covered it up, so I forced him to confess, his silence bought and paid for." In the gallery, Harper's jaw clenched. She had been chasing justice for months, only to find Lila had been several moves ahead. Outside the courtroom, Detective Brandt played Harper's latest voicemail. It was Lila's voice, recorded days before she vanished. "If you protect me," she said coolly, "I'll protect you. But if you don't, everything burns." Then Nate came forward. Brandt asked, "Did your mother fake her own kidnapping?" Nate hesitated, then nodded. "She told me exactly what to say. Said it would break open the system. I didn't know she meant framing someone." Back in court, Shaw was charged with false imprisonment. The evidence, including Nate's testimony and old staff reports Lila had gathered, painted a damning picture. Lila? She walked out with a deal, no prison, no trial. Just silence. Her teaching license revoked, her reputation in tatters, but her freedom intact. Brandt, unable to sleep, watched the last piece of the puzzle that Harper had given him. Security footage of Lila at a diner, days before she vanished. She said to a man across from her, "I'll be the victim. Shaw takes the fall, and they'll never be able to touch me." The man asked, "And if they try?" Lila smiled. "Then I remind them who really kept the secrets buried." The news lit up. Educator exposed in high-stakes cover-up. But it didn't matter. Lila was already gone. A blurry photo caught her boarding a train under a new name. Harper transferred schools quietly. Nate moved in with distant family. Shaw resigned before trial. The building was shut down and scheduled for demolition. In Brandt's office, one relic remained. A note pulled from a crack in the basement wall, hidden behind the insulation. It read, "They didn't believe me, so I made them listen," and at the bottom, the initials, LM.